The following video is designed to provide you with possible engine modifications to enhance your Corvette's performance characteristics. The video is not intended to replace the manufacturer's instructions in any way. Please refer to each manufacturer's specific instructions before you begin any of the modifications and follow them thoroughly. This video is intended to briefly describe what is involved in each installation or segment. Vette Magazine and Gen 2 Multimedia are not responsible for any damages to person and/or equipment resulting from the viewing of this video. The video is for entertainment purposes only. Always follow manufacturer's instructions, guidelines, and warnings whenever working on your Corvette. And always make sure your new engine modifications are smog legal in your state. The following video has been produced by Gen 2 Multimedia. Vision for the next generation.
Vette Magazine presents the 10 best ways to make your Corvette a lot faster. The #1 Corvette magazine for over 16 years, Vette Magazine brings the Corvette mystique and lifestyle into its readers' lives with the most in-depth coverage of any Corvette magazine. And now we've gone video.
One of the most popular questions we get from our readers is, how can I make my Corvette go faster? I'm Scott Gentry from Vette Magazine, and over the next 45 minutes you're going to learn the 10 best ways to do just that.
They range from easy bolt-ons finished in less than an hour to a complete supercharging installation requiring a full day's work. You'll hear from Reeves Callaway about his two new kits, the Supernatural LT1 and the ZR1. And we'll show you Chevy's newest concept vehicle, the Stingray 3. To close out the how-tos, you'll find a product information segment called the Video Mart. It'll supply you with all the information you need to obtain some of the great products you've seen throughout the video.
So sit back, buckle up, and hold on for Vette Magazine's How to Make Your Corvette Faster.
Speed. Verb. To move swiftly. To travel at a fast rate. Increase the speed of.
You can do anything you want to a Corvette. You can start on the body and do your own customizing, whatever you prefer to suit your taste. And then you can get into road racing, better handling, faster drag strip performance, higher top speed. The thing you can do with a Corvette, they're just endless.
Part 1. Installations requiring under 1 hour.
We used this 1985 for most of our modifications and asked JB's Corvettes in New York to handle the installations. The first thing we wanted our project car to do was breathe a little better, and for this we chose a K&N air filter. The filter will set you back around $45, but it's definitely worth the investment. Plus, it comes with a 1,000,000-mile warranty. All you have to do is maintain the filter at regular intervals, just as you would normally replace a stock one with their filter maintenance kit.
First, remove the 2 thumb wheel nuts holding the air cleaner in place. Remove the old filter and replace it with the K&N. The K&N air filter offers better filtration and increased airflow. Make sure it sits in the lid the same way as the original.
Install the lid with the air cleaner vents facing down towards the bottom of the car. And retighten the thumb wheel nuts.
Total installation time, less than 5 minutes, showing horsepower gains of between 5 and 10 horsepower. Other companies who manufacture power filters are TPIS as part of their Fast Pack and Hypertech.
Almost as simple as installing a replacement air filter is the installation of an air foil. Myron Cottrell of Tuned Port Injection Specialties supplied us with his TPIS Fast Pack. The kit includes an air foil, a set of high-intensity spark plug wires, an air filter, and a fuel pressure regulator. First, we'll install the air foil.
Remove the 2 clips that hold in the mass airflow sensor. Then remove the upper duct retaining screw and slide off the upper duct. Turn the unit over to reveal the electric connector to the mass airflow sensor and disconnect it. Remove the TPI cover by taking out the 6 Torx head screws that hold the cover in place. Once you've removed the cover, install the retaining screw in the center hole. Apply some Loctite onto the bolt that connects to the retaining screw to prevent it from loosening, and install the plenum in the center. Using a 5/32 Allen wrench to tighten the bolt, make sure that it is secure before reinstalling the TPI cover. To show off your new airfoil, you can use the replacement cover that's supplied by TPIS. Total installation time of approximately 10 minutes. You'll get increased throttle response and up to 10 additional horsepower. It should be noted that on a stock motor, the result you see from an airfoil is limited. But when you modify your motor for greater airflow and intake airspeed, the foil will play a much greater role. Other companies making similar products include Hypertech, March Performance, and Automotive Performance International.
Shifting to fuel pressure, you should first check your stock pressure, and if you find it lacking, you may want to install an adjustable regulator.
When installing, there are a few things that'll lead up to the installation. We first opened the fuel filler door and removed the cap to relieve any pressure in the system. Then we removed the 10-amp fuse marked FP, fuel pump, from the fuse panel on the passenger side of the car. This shuts off the fuel pump and also relieves pressure. And finally, run the car to exhaust the fuel in the system to save it from spraying. To get to the fuel pressure regulator, you must remove the upper plenum. Take out the 3 Torx head screws holding down the distributor cover. Using a torque wrench, unbolt the upper plenum by removing the bolts from the left and right sides. Then remove 4 10mm bolts holding in the front plenum and separate the front throttle body from the plenum. Moving to the rear, remove the vacuum line to the upper plenum by using a 5/8" open-end wrench. On the other side, remove the 2 vacuum lines to the upper plenum. At this point, we're ready to remove the upper plenum from the runners. Tap lightly with a soft mallet to loosen it and then remove it, disconnecting the electrical sensor inside. Now that we've reached the regulator, remove the vacuum line and remove the 6 Torx head screws holding down the regulator using the special tool TPIS includes with its kit. By keeping a towel over the regulator, we protected ourselves from spray, just in case there was any fuel pressure left. Slowly remove the screws. Note the position of the vacuum fitting so you can reinstall the new one in the same location. The round disc fits inside the new regulator cover. Replace the new cover, noting its position, and install the screws, tightening them evenly. Check with the fuel pressure gauge and adjust properly to the required specs. Install the new gaskets, connect the lines, and you're ready to reinstall the plenum. Total installation time, just over an hour. Expect a horsepower increase of about 10 horsepower. Hypertech is another company producing similar regulators.
Still keeping the installations under an hour, we replaced the factory computer chip in our project car with a high-performance chip supplied by Hypertech. The new chip will vastly improve the power of your engine by making changes to the fuel mixture and timing curve. And in automatics, it will also improve the shift points.
Enter the passenger side of the vehicle and remove the 3 7mm screws holding the under-dash cover in place. Slide out the cover and remove the clip. Under the dash cover, you'll find a bracket with 2 10mm head bolts holding up the computer. Remove the 2 bolts. Maneuver the box to loosen and lower the computer. Next, remove the computer chip access cover held in place by 2 1/4-inch screws. Use a computer chip removal tool or a small screwdriver to gently pry the chip out. Notice the size of the tabs going into the computer. The chip will install in one direction only. Do not force the installation as it will cause damage to the chip. Press firmly into place and reinstall the cover. After you've installed the chip, you'll also need to change the thermostat.
The Stage 2 chip is designed to run at cooler engine temperatures and employs a 160-degree thermostat, thus better performance. You'll notice we still haven't installed the plenum. This just made it a little easier to get to the thermostat.
You'll need a 9/16 socket to remove the bolts, and you'll find a distributor wrench will come in handy for removing the forward bolt. Remove the hose clamps to the thermostat housing and remove the upper radiator hose. Now you'll be able to remove the thermostat housing and remove the old thermostat. Install the new PowerStat 160-degree thermostat and you're ready to reinstall the housing, making sure you remove the old gasket and any surface debris first. Install your new thermostat with the new gasket and reverse all of your steps. Finally, you'll need to install a new fan switch. Installation time of approximately 45 minutes to an hour. Horsepower increase of approximately 10 to 15 horsepower. ADS is another manufacturer making a similar product.
Okay, we chose the Corvette for 2 reasons. One, or first, you get the most car for the money. There's no other sports car in the world that you can buy for the same price as a Corvette that delivers as much. Second, and probably equally important to us, is the fact that the people that buy the Corvettes have the income to afford the kind of product that we like to make.
Part 2. Installations requiring 1 to 3 hours.
Still another low-cost bolt-on is the addition of high-performance pulleys. By installing new pulleys, you slow down the belt speed and free up some extra horsepower. And for this, we chose March Performance pulleys.
For a 1985 Corvette, you'll want to change the crankshaft and alternator pulleys. First, remove the tension from the belt and slide it off the pulleys. You'll find the crankshaft pulley bolts onto the damper. Remove the harmonic balancer bolt and washer. Then there are 3 bolts retaining the pulley to the damper. Remove them. After you slide out the old pulley and place it next to the new high-performance pulley, you can see the dramatic size difference between the two. When installing the new pulley, first replace the harmonic balancer bolt. This will simplify the placement of the other 3 bolts. After you've reinstalled the crankshaft pulley, remove the alternator pulley. Once again, you'll notice the size difference between the two. Remove the old spacer and replace it with the new one that March supplies. Reinstall the new pulley and tighten. Make sure you torque it to the proper specs. Then finish the job by reinstalling the new belt. Approximate installation time, just over an hour. Horsepower gain, 10 to 15. Other companies producing similar products are Hypertech and Auto Specialties.
To reduce your engine's back pressure, you'll want to replace the stock exhaust system with a new high-performance one. By doing so, you free up extra horsepower trapped in the system to give your car a heartier growl. We installed Borla Performance mufflers on this 89 Supercharged.
After you remove the stock mufflers and Y-pipe, lay out the new Borlas and loosely connect them to the new pipe. Now you're ready to reinstall. Once you've made all the major connections, you can go back and tighten the clamps from the mufflers to the Y-pipe. The entire job encompasses only about 15 bolts, yet the results are dramatic. Here's the stock system before, and here's the new Borla system with the ZR1 tips after. Besides the obvious visual differences, the new Borlas sound great. Plus, these stainless steel mufflers come with a 1,000,000-mile warranty. What more could you ask for? Total installation time, about an hour and a half. You should see horsepower gains ranging between 15 and 30 horses. However, in the new LT1 engines, even greater results were achieved using Borla Performance mufflers. Check out the August '92 issue of Vette Magazine for more information.
For quicker ETs, easier starting, reduced plug fouling, and more horsepower, consider a new ignition system. We chose the MSD ignition and new high-intensity spark plug wires.
The part that may take the longest is finding a place for the new MSD box. It should be kept away from heat and water, so we fabricated a home for it by using a modified battery bracket, and then prepared to make all of the electrical connections. First and foremost, you should always remember to disconnect the battery. Whenever working with electrical components, always disconnect the battery. Then you're ready to connect the ground and hot leads. The box needs a constant 12 volts. We connected it directly to the battery and the ground wire to the bracket on the alternator. After you remove the distributor cover, you can remove the battery lead, the tack lead, and the main plug into the coil. MSD supplies you with easy step-by-step instructions. Be sure to follow them. After we made all of the proper connections, the final connection was the tack. This connects to the old wire on the distributor. Finally, you're ready for the rev limiter module. MSD supplies you with 3 of them. 3000 is for testing, then you'll want to install the 6000 for driving applications. Installation time, approximately 2 hours. Horsepower increase, tough to gauge, basically used for consistent ignition, better fuel economy, and maximum levels of horsepower.
We shifted cars here and installed new roller rockers on one of our editor's cars, an 84. The car has over 100,000 proud and happy miles and could use a little more help in the horsepower department. The new roller rockers reduce the horsepower robbing friction, lower the engine temperature, and thus make the engine perform more efficiently.
The first thing you need to do is remove the air cleaner assembly so you can approach the valve covers. You may have to remove some hose fittings to reach the covers as well. Remove all the bolts and maneuver the valve covers free. This is no simple task. Once removed, the old rocker arms are easily apparent and the fun begins. You'll first adjust the number 1 cylinder to the top dead center on the compression stroke. Remove the stock rocker arms by hand. If a power tool is used, you'll strip the retaining nut and will be unable to use it for the new arms. Here's the stock rocker arm and all that it pivots on. And here's the new roller rocker from Competition Cams. You can see the roller on the new one and the dramatic difference between the two. The push rods have been removed here, and before installing the new ones, lube them with the lube Competition Cams supplies. Install the new rods, making sure they're in the lifter. Tighten down the rocker until there is no play between the rocker arm and the push rod, and continue installing all of the new arms. It should be noted that we don't recommend new valve springs at this point because of all the mileage on this 84. Installation time approaching 3 hours. Horsepower increase up to 15 horsepower. Crane Cams is another company making replacement rocker arms.
If it's straight line performance with a burst of extra power you're looking for, nitrous oxide just might be the thing. And Nitrous Oxide Systems of California just might be the answer.
The new L98 system features a unique dual EEPROM controller which automatically switches from the stock chip to a special nitrous chip when the nitrous system is activated. The nitrous chip provides the proper fuel and timing curve to match the needs of the nitrous system for optimum performance. This system produces 145 horsepower. NOS's two new kits for the LT1 and ZR1 produce 125 horsepower over stock and retail for about $1,200. The kits come complete with OE-type connectors, a custom gauge and switch panel, 15-pound nitrous bottle, bottle heater and blanket, all the mounting hardware, and a complete installation manual to get the job done right. The Corvette Engineering Group generated these performance figures as a result of their testing an NOS-equipped ZR1. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.7 seconds, as opposed to a stock 4.9 seconds. Quarter mile in 11.86 seconds versus stock 13.4 seconds. Similar results can be obtained using their kits for LT1 and L98 Corvettes.
You know, when I review our relationship with Chevrolet, I remember back in 1985 when the then head of Chevrolet, Don Runkle, called and said, "Would you consider turbocharging some Corvettes?" Well, if I had been thinking at all, I would have come up with a reply like, "Does Dolly sleep on her back?"
Part 3. Installations requiring over 3 hours.
This car has not been here before. We're wondering what it's going to do, just as you might be wondering right now. It's the first LT1 supercharged car that we know of, and the kit is available and being produced by Carroll Supercharging. And yes, my name is Greg Carroll. How do you do? Let me point out a couple of major components here. So, okay, this is the supercharger. This is a centrifugal supercharger. It's basically an air compressor. The air enters the compressor here, goes into the back of the supercharger. There's a little tiny fan in there, just like a turbo. Same principle as a turbocharger, only it's belt-driven instead of exhaust gas-driven. Supercharger compresses the air by changing velocity, speeding up the air into pressure. When the air shoots out here, it has nowhere to go. Right over here is the intake air temperature sensor. This is part of the GM engine management system. This originally was in the GM air filter that sat in this area. The rubber bellows was here, and then the air filter would sit down on the radiator here. So we took the intake air temperature sensor out of the bellows, plugged it into our U-tube. Air comes through here, through the throttle body, and what we do is we give you a new set of bolts. You pull the throttle body forward 1/4 inch. You slip this plate in there, something like a nitrous plate, and the plate sits down in there, and it has little tubes going down through it with tiny 0.30 holes in it to allow the fuel to quickly disperse, because you got to make some sharp turns here. When the air comes through here, you got to quickly make left and right turns through GM's little tunnel ramp. You got 3 30-pound injectors. Of course, these could be changed to tune to other, degrees of boost. You have your fuel log here. Fuel comes in through the stainless steel hose here. This is something that, as soon as you touch the fuel system, you want to be real careful. One of the things that we bumped into that was a problem for us was the higher RPM capability of this engine. Led to some problems getting the fuel in. At first we were going to try to get all the fuel in with the stock injectors. But if you sit down and do a little math and you take 6,000 RPM and you change that from revolutions per minute into 1 engine revolution per time, if you take that and you divide it out, in other words, change the minutes into milliseconds and change revolutions into 1, you find out that at 6,000 RPM, the engine turns over once every 10 milliseconds. Now, on a 4-cycle engine, you have 2 of those revolutions, or 20 milliseconds, 10 times 2 to get the fuel in. Well, you take a fuel injector at 10 milliseconds per pulse, it can't get a lot of fuel in. So even though there's a lot of capability in this car, you start to realize that get the fuel in becomes somewhat of a problem. So this is why we had to end up with the separate system in order to get enough fuel in to keep up with the horsepower. Car's being, or the engine is being dynoed. We don't really know at this point how much horsepower it is. I guess at the end of today, when we see how fast it goes, we can work backwards and figure it out. But we start with about 300 horsepower. We're adding about 100 pounds of fuel, so we know we're at least 400 horsepower, if not 450 horsepower.
After a strong, healthy dose of the mechanics, we wanted to see what the new Carroll Supercharged LT1 could do. Editor D. Randy Riggs was more than happy to make a few timed runs. But even before Greg was able to do his handiwork on the new LT1, he lent it to us so we could take a few baseline numbers. Before, the car ran the quarter mile in 13.95 seconds at 98 miles per hour. After the car was supercharged, it ran the quarter mile in just 12.85 seconds at 108 miles per hour, a full second faster. In addition, we recorded an incredible average of almost 27 miles per gallon over a 400-mile test drive. Then we asked D. Randy Riggs for his thoughts on the new Carroll Supercharged LT1.
It makes the car much stronger, and it's totally streetable. I've been driving it for about 400 miles, and at the moment that's been averaging almost 27 miles to the gallon over that 400-mile period. And I think that says an awful lot for a package like that.
You know, when I review our relationship with Chevrolet, I remember back in 1985 when the then head of Chevrolet, Don Runkle, called and said, "Would you consider turbocharging some Corvettes?" Well, if I had been thinking at all, I would have come up with a reply like, "Does Dolly sleep on her back?" But I wasn't smart enough to do that. I wasn't quick enough. But what it did launch was a great 5-year program that produced some truly great automobiles. There's nothing like a Corvette that's a little too powerful. So here we are in 1992, embarking on the next generation of engine modifications, this whole supernatural program for the LT1s and the ZR1s. But they all have a great history. The history goes back to the Top Gun, the Sledgehammer, the Speedsters, and now the Supernatural program. What we're going to see here today is we'll take a walk through all of the important areas of car build. We'll walk through the engine shop. We'll go through the machine shop, which is where some very difficult machining operations are performed, especially this business about porting cylinder heads by computer numerical control. That's a marvelous process. And we'll go up to the composite construction facility and see how the bodywork is made. We may even get a chance to look at some speedsters in progress.
Well, it takes about 3.5 weeks or so to complete a speedster. We're about a week into this one right now. We've just made all the parts. Some of the parts have been fit, some of them haven't yet. Got to work out all the air bubbles in it, block the whole thing out, bond all the pieces on.
Let me talk for a minute about what Callaway Cars is. Callaway Cars is a project engineering house that specializes in engine development. And before we started working with Chevrolet, our job was typically to design someone a new engine, or a new cylinder head, or a new crankcase. And we worked for most of the great car manufacturers around the world. What that means when you re-examine the job of making an engine is, for us at least, we go back to, as the English say, first principles, and try to rethink the whole thing in the light of modern technology. And I think as we look at this Supernatural program, you'll see some evidence of that. One of the things that has always been very difficult to do is to have all the cylinders of an engine perform equal work. One way that you assure that they perform equal work is to give them equal airflow, that is through the inlet system, equal exhaust flow through the exhaust system, and make sure that their combustion chambers are all exactly the same shape. Normally you depended on a casting process to do this. One of the ways that we applied good technology to an old idea was to say, all right, let's take the time to machine each of these things that influence the outcome of the engine so heavily. Let's actually machine the inlet port. Let's machine the exhaust port. Let's control the shape of the combustion chamber by machining. With modern computer numerically controlled machines, you can do this for the first time. You couldn't do this 10 years ago. So what we have done essentially is taught the machines how to port the cylinder heads, how to shape the combustion chambers. What is the net result? The net result is that each one of them is identical to the one before it. The consequence is both great power, because now the engine is fully optimized, and great emission results. Bingo. What do you need to be in the high-performance business these days? You need to be emission compliant, you need to be powerful. You also need to be good value. We can add 100 horsepower to the LT1 for $8,500. And we do it the hardest way possible, inside the motor. We're not adding turbochargers, we're not adding superchargers. We're going right in and making the engine in its naturally aspirated form, therefore the term super naturally aspirated, work the best that it can. Okay, this is part of the supernatural process. This is what we talked about before when we described the technique by which you can qualify shapes that are very difficult, like the combustion chamber or like the inlet and exhaust port. And the way that you do it is write a routine for this probe to come and touch the walls of the combustion chamber, and then move slightly and touch them again. And over a long enough period of time, you will define the shape that is the combustion chamber. Now, the beauty of capturing that numerically means that you can then reproduce it infinitely. And that's what we're really interested in, is consistency from combustion chamber to combustion chamber, from inlet port to inlet port, from exhaust port to exhaust port. Previously impossible to do by hand. And here it is, a relatively simple operation for a machine tool like this. The supernatural technique is very simple. It adds 100 horsepower to both the LT5 motor in the ZR1 or the LT1 engine. And it does it through optimizing the internal components, primarily camshaft, cylinder head, inlet port, exhaust port, combustion chamber, and engine management software. One of the great things about working with Chevrolet is that we get direct access to the engine management software. No one else in the aftermarket can do that, and let me tell you, the software is very tricky and very proprietary these days. So without full control over the software, you might as well not even start the job. The second thing that sets this process apart from a traditional approach is that you can't hope for cylinder-to-cylinder consistency without going through this computer numerically controlled process. The result is emission compliance, 100 more horsepower, and very reasonable cost. $84.50 to do an LT1, about 3 weeks worth of time, and $14,750 to do a ZR1, again, about 3 weeks worth of time. Now, an extra 100 horsepower in an already powerful car makes you feel great. But we learned a long time ago that people want to look great as well. So we have made a generation of aero bodies for the LT1, which were, of course, sort of trademarked in the twin-turbo car. Now for the two naturally aspirated cars, LT1, ZR1, the only difference is that there isn't any hood scoops. But we're about to unveil the Series 2 aero body, that is for the ZR1, the wider-bodied car. So now there can be strong family resemblance among all the Callaway cars. To do an aero body on a car is available either as a kit at $69.50 or installed at $11,600 for an LT1 or $12,600 for a ZR1. Best looking Corvette I think you can get.
By now, most of you have heard of Chevrolet's latest concept vehicle, the Stingray 3. The creation of West Coast stylists, the Stingray 3 reflects the California lifestyle. Open-air driving, aggressive styling, and fluid lines all come together to make this automobile a guaranteed head-turner at the beach. The car sits on a wheelbase that's 7 inches longer than the current model, yet the overall length has been reduced by 2 inches. By placing the transmission between the rear wheels, the Stingray 3 achieves an impressive 51 to 49% weight ratio, all of which should give this car some impressive handling characteristics. Once inside, the first things you'll notice are the analog gauges, circular air vents, and various other design treatments, such as a fixed seat facing adjustable pedals and movable console. Under the hood, you'll find it's powered by a modified LT1 engine. The car sits on handsome 18x10 aluminum wheels in front and 19x10 wheels in back. The unusual rear taillights and aggressive front headlamps definitely make a styling statement. But is this the next Corvette? Probably not. But don't be surprised if some of these styling cues make it into production in the near future. By the looks of this concept car, it certainly seems like it would continue the Corvette tradition of speed. Part 4. Video Mart.
You've seen and heard the difference a Borla stainless steel exhaust system can make. If your baby's a classic Vette, power it up with Borla exhaust. Borla heats up the already hot ZR1 by unleashing more than 50 extra horsepower with just an easy bolt-on installation from the cat back. And the new LT1 Vette improves its performance by an astonishing 80 extra horsepower to the rear wheels at 5,000 RPM, as demonstrated in an independent test. Borla aircraft quality stainless steel exhaust for power, performance, fuel economy, and a 1,000,000-mile warranty. Call today for details. Callaway enjoys a special relationship with the Corvette platform. Through the production of more than 500 twin-turbo Corvettes, Callaway has earned a worldwide reputation for the highest quality and performance. Callaway builds complete cars in 3 models, the Supernatural LT1, ZR1, and the Supernatural Speedster. In addition, the Callaway performance packages are designed to let the Corvette enthusiast choose from a menu of components that Callaway uses in the construction of the complete cars. These individual packages range from the stunning Callaway aero body to the Supernatural engine programs that add 100 horsepower to both the ZR1 and the LT1. For friendly advice, call Reeves Callaway or Kathleen Hunt at 203-434-9002. The Corvette Consultant is dedicated to one important goal: to enable you to get maximum pleasure from your late model Corvette. Every item we recommend to our customers for enhancing the performance of their late model car is based on our own hands-on experience. Each part we sell has been used and tested to ensure that everything does exactly what it's supposed to do, and more importantly, what you expect it to do. By contacting the Corvette Consultant, you'll find that you found a friend with the qualifications to help you each step of the way to achieve one objective: a higher level of performance for your Corvette. JB's Corvette Supplies. Make us your first stop or first telephone call Vette Shop. Whatever you're into, stock or custom, JB's has it all. Ground effects packages, engine parts and accessories, interiors, OEM parts, and many more. Open 9 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 on Saturday. Same-day shipping on all mail orders. 212-823-3100 or 800-874-6019. What's the simplest, quickest way to unleash hidden power in your Corvette? Just take 5 minutes and install a K&N filter charger, an extraordinary air filter that delivers up to 15 extra horsepower with twice the airflow of conventional air filters. Back that up with a K&N 10-year million-mile warranty and you have an instant edge on the competition. Get the maximum performance out of your Corvette. Call 1-800-PAR-3336 for the K&N filter charger dealer nearest you. Improving the breed is Mid-America Design's specialty. In their 200-page catalog, you'll find everything you need to make your Corvette run and look better. Mid-America's extensive line of performance products showcases the best the automotive industry has to offer. In addition, Mid-America carries a full line of restoration, protection, and maintenance products for Corvettes. Find out what the leader in GM licensed products for Corvettes can do for you. Call Mid-America's 24-hour toll-free order line and ask for your copy of the Corvette Enthusiast Wish Book. TPI Specialties has a complete selection of products designed to improve the performance of tuned-port engines. One of the easiest to install is a Fast Pack. The Fast Pack is emissions legal in all 50 states. It consists of an airfoil, adjustable fuel pressure regulator, helically wound spark plug wires, air cleaner, TPIS cover plate, gaskets, and complete instructions. You can learn more about the Fast Pack and other products designed especially for tuned-port engines by contacting TPI Specialties.